Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had a wonderful week. Let me know where you are tuning in from in the chat. It's Dr. Hammond, for those of you joining. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment, and I am back in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. Last week, for those of you who did not know, last week I was in Cancun with my family on vacation, which some of you may have heard about the Hurricane Beryl, which essentially made it through parts of Mexico, not quite where we were, it was a little bit further south. But nonetheless, yeah, it was a very interesting vacation. We tried to leave before the storm. We got a flight and then the flight got canceled. So long story short, we ended up staying there through the hurricane, even though it really wasn't a hurricane in our area. It was farther south. So that was an experience for sure. But nonetheless, I am back in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. But let me know again where you are residing from in the chat, and hopefully my comments will come in at some point so I can actually read your comments. But nonetheless, again, if you're new to Mental Health Moment, we're here every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And essentially, Mental Health Moment is about how do you become the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for those around you, which is really important. What's been really interesting is, man, the last couple of weeks have been super busy. If you guys have not heard the news already, I do have my next book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind and the Rest Will Follow. It is on pre-order and the link is here, mindsettrainingbook.com. I would love if you pre-ordered the book. That would be amazing. But the last couple of weeks have been super busy with a lot of podcast interviews related to the book, which is really exciting. But what's been interesting is what has been a theme that's come up a lot is this idea of how we really have to unlearn the idea that self-care is selfish, right? Like maybe some of you were raised that way where it's like, go, 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 put everything else before you, don't take care of yourself. If you were, and even if you weren't, now that you're an adult, right? Sometimes there's things that you have to start to unlearn. So that's honestly a part of what Mindset Training book is about, because it's so critically important for us to have the self-care that we need, the holistic self-care that we need in our lives. For those of you who were or are in the path of Hurricane Beryl, I hope that you are safe. I hope that you are doing your best for you and your family, because this hurricane has been through so many different countries and different parts, and it's really crazy. So be safe out there for sure. But speaking of storms, on today's mental health moment, I really wanted to encourage you, if you are, especially for those of you who are going through storms, because what's interesting about storms in our lives are that, just similar to a hurricane, sometimes we can see them coming and sometimes they take a different path than what we thought was going to happen, like hurricanes. So I want to really encourage you. One of the reasons I also wrote the book on mindset is because when you really are intentional and you work on bettering your mindset, it doesn't make the storms that have come or are about to come in your life go away. We don't get to control that part, but what you can control better is your reaction to them. So the disappointments that will come or have already come, the trauma, the surprises, right? Like all these things that happen in our lives, when you really think about how do I develop a stronger mindset, that is a part of the solution, right? So in the book, I talk about the differences. How do you build yourself up physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? There's a lot of different aspects of ourselves that we have to work on, right? Our mindset and building ourselves up. And one of my favorite parts, actually, I have a lot of favorite parts in the book, but one of my favorite parts in the book is about the notion of self-talk. So I want to remind you all today that when it comes to your self-talk, meaning what is it that you're telling yourself on a frequent basis? It's really important. There's two parts to that. It's really important first for you to work on being more self-aware. Like what is it that you're really telling yourself on a daily basis? Because a lot of the research shows the vast majority of our thoughts are negative. Like we have thousands and thousands of thoughts a day, which a lot of them are negative, but is there a pattern for you? Like, is there something that you're constantly telling yourself, like, you're not good enough, or I can't do this, or I can't believe I did this, or are you caught up in regret? Are you caught up in self blame? Are you caught up in worrying about something else someone else did? Like, where is your thought patterns at? Because step one is your awareness. And then step two is you work on it's not always easy to change your thoughts, but once you start to become aware and you recognize them, you can start to the thoughts are still going to come, but you can start to work on like, okay, but like what else? Like, how can you replace that thought, if that makes sense? So if you're at a place where you're like, man, I'm blaming myself for something I did or something that happened or something I wanted to prevent, or you're in that like self blame thought cycle, for example, what happens is that when those thoughts come about, you can put different mechanisms in place for you, whether it's deep breathing, whether whatever it is for you that resets, recharges you. You can work on actively saying, like, okay, that's not true about me. Like, it's not my fault. Like, there's a lot of ways you can replace thoughts and also work on it not affecting you physically as well. Because what happens is and this is something else I've been talking about a lot on the podcast, which, by the way, as an aside, Dr.Nekeshiahammond.com, I will have all of the podcast interview replay links on the page. So there's, I don't know how many, I think there's like 40 or something like that over the course of the next couple months. But if you go there, for those of you who are like, I want to watch the replay, I've been with really amazing podcast hosts. Like, they're phenomenal individuals, phenomenal people. So anyhow, so the links as they give them to me, and our team, they'll all be on drnekeshiahammond.com. So you can check all those out. But what I was saying was a lot of the conversations were about that mind body connection. And it's so critically important when you start to get in a cycle of too much negative thinking, it can really affect you physically as well, which in a negative way, which of course we don't want, right? So it's important when you start to get in those negative thought cycles, how can you reset? How can you recharge? Can you take some deep breaths? Can you take a walk outside? Can you take a break on what you're doing? And sometimes you cannot, understandably, but sometimes you can, right? So make sure that you have a strategy. Now, I am not telling you something that can be done overnight. I wish I had a magic wand. You guys know, for those of you who are not new to mental health moment, you know how much I wish I had my magic wand, which I do not. But if I did, yes, I would, sure, like magically, let's just like heal ourselves from the negative thinking that we have. But it is something that takes time. But it's absolutely something that can be done. It's really, and I speak from personal experience too, it's really life changing when you work on that inner critic, when you work on those loud voices, like your own thoughts, but the loud negative thinking that you have, when you really work on managing that, because you live in your thoughts all day, you all. But when you work on managing that, it can really help you and prepare you for, again, when whatever storms that may be happening currently to you or about to happen or already did happen come about. Because sometimes when the storms come in our lives, we get into this pattern of like self-blame or regret or needing to forgive someone. Like, all those thoughts are in our heads, and that can affect you, like I mentioned earlier, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. So that is my tip for you this week. Someone said absolutely. That is my tip for you this week, to think about, how do you prepare yourself? How do you work on your self talk? How do you work on telling yourself more positive things? How do you work on addressing some of the negative thoughts that you currently have? No, they're not going to all go away. Like, you're not, like, thousands of your thoughts each day are not all going to be positive. Like, that's completely unrealistic. but it's managing especially the ones that are popping up the most when you take the time to pay attention to your thoughts and recognize what your pattern is for you. All of us have different patterns, all of us have different life experiences. But when you recognize that and then you say, okay, let me take this next step to work on my, inner critic or whatever it is for you that you need to work on, you can work on inner peace, which also I talked about in my book as well. But inner peace is really critical. I wish that for each and every one of you. It is it is a good goal to have if you're not there already. It just helps you with life storms, if you will, and what comes about. So mindsettrainingbook.com is where you can go to pre-order the book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the rest will follow. I'm super excited about this one. And then let me put a couple of other things on the screen here for you all. So let me see. I'm trying to think the next thing coming up. The next thing coming up is not open to the public. Okay, so not that one. I'm just trying to show you a couple of the events I'll be speaking at. So I know some of you ask coming up. So the next one I'm speaking at is not open to the public, but the next one that is open to the public is on Saturday, July 27th in Orlando. So if you're in the Orlando area, it's ampyourlifenow.com is where you can get tickets. I'm so excited to be speaking there. And actually tonight, for those of you who are on Instagram, tonight, so Tuesday tonight, or I know we're in different parts of the world here, 9 p.m. Eastern time, I should say, because it might be morning for you watching this. So Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So for me, it's tonight, right after this live, actually. I will be on Instagram Live with Jeff, the entrepreneur, and also Manny, who is the host of this event. And we're going to be talking more about the event, obviously. And actually, there's a chance to win 2 tickets to the event tonight. I forgot that we're doing a contest. So IG Live at 9 p.m. on my IG Live, Dr.Hammond. You have a chance to win 2 tickets to this event. And if for some reason you can't win the tickets, it's still absolutely amazing. I know it's going to be amazing. But it's about how to amp your life, how to make your life better. So obviously my area is mental health, but there's real estate. I think there's someone talking about relationships. There's someone talking about business, entrepreneurship. Like there's a lot of different amazing speakers. I'm excited to be speaking there and also attending because I know it's going to be phenomenal. But ampyourlifenow.com for tickets. Again, Saturday, July 27th, and that's in Orlando. And then for those of you in the Tampa Bay area, and this one I didn't put the date on there. The date for this one, hold on, let me find it because I didn't put the date on here. Let me put it really quick. It's Saturday. Oops. Hold on, I'm gonna change it for you. Saturday, August 3rd. This is a free event. This next one, if I can get it to, let me see if I can get it to show. There we go. Okay. One other one I'll tell you about, and the rest of them we'll do our best to update the website as soon as we can. But Saturday, August 3rd, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, Jackson in Action 83 Foundation is hosting a free summit. It's an emotional wellness summit for middle schoolers. So if you have a middle schooler, upcoming 6th, 7th, or 8th grade student, or also for parents, I'll be speaking there to the parents about emotional health of our youth, as well as self-care, because who doesn't need that? We all do, right? Especially as parents. But nonetheless, that's Saturday, August 3rd in the Tampa Bay area. So jacksoninAction83.org is where you can go to register your middle schooler or yourself or yourself as a parent. Okay, so let me go back to this. There we go. Okay, and if you missed any of that, obviously you can replay this video. It'll be on YouTube as well, the replay, but also Dr.NekeshiaHammond.com is where you can go for all the latest upcoming events. So like I said, we're trying to put all of that on there, but I would love to see you all if you're, again, in the Atlanta area or Tampa area, or I forgot the next place I'm speaking after that, but I'll let you guys know as I get that information. I would love to see you all there. And if you all need me, you can always reach out. Dr.NekeshiaHammond.com has, let me see if that's on here actually to make your lives easier. There we go. Okay. I'm like trying to scroll through these banners here. Dr.NekeshiaHammond.com has all my social media information. Also, as I mentioned before, information about the podcast interviews coming up and the ones I've already done, and also the events. So would love to connect with each and every one of you. I'm always posting mental health and mental wellness resources and information and inspirational uh, quotes and just different tips because I think all of us need. I know for myself personally. But all of us need the inspiration and to stay uplifted because there's a lot happening. So, speaking of storms, on today's mental health moment, maybe you're in one right now, maybe you just came out of one, or you're about to go into something. Like we're just all at different places, and hopefully, you're doing your best to stay uplifted. So, kudos to you, by the way, for tuning into Mental Health Moment. Not for me, but for you, because I love people who are looking to better themselves, become a better version of yourself, grow as a person. Like this, it definitely affects you in your life, but it also affects all the people around you. Like it's such a beautiful thing, and I love that. So kudos to you for doing that. I'll be back. Have an amazing week. Be blessed. Make sure you incorporate some downtime for you this week, some reset, recharge time, thinking about your thoughts, but also remembering how amazing you are. And I will see you all next week. Take care of yourselves.